Warning: the following video contains explicit language, which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Are you ready? Hey everybody, it's Jeff. Not everybody's here to watch. Today was really a bipolar weather day here in Maine. This morning, it was cloudy out, and foggy too. Then it was raining. And then by around noontime, it started to snow, but it was a wet snow, so it wasn't accumulating, it was just melting as it hit the ground. And at about 1:30 or 2 o'clock, it stopped. The snow stopped, and in less than a half an hour, the sky had just cleared. And it was a beautiful sunny day. I was like, what the hell? It's like somebody just pulled a plug on the weather we were getting and just put in the summer weather. Oh boy, that's the way it is around here. If you don't like the weather, wait a while and it'll change, Jesus. Well, tomorrow's Thanksgiving, and I hope everybody, the grocery stores were full of people today, and everybody's walking out. They got carts and carts and carts of food, and so I expect some people are going to have, a pretty good Thanksgiving. The thing of it is, when I was younger and we'd have Thanksgiving, we would eat and then we'd kind of sit around and watch the TV a little bit and stuff, whatever was playing. In my family, I guess usually was sports and stuff like that. But these days, with everybody with their phones and stuff like that, do they actually take the time to really sit around and do that, or are they just off in their own little worlds after Thanksgiving, and nobody talks to anybody? I don't know. It seems like weird that they do that. Of course, most of the people, my family, they're, around my age and stuff. So there's no really young, people, and what I'm saying. So I don't see any of that. But I imagine for today, the younger families today, they must have that because, you see people. Like today, I was out walking around at the mall and everything, and people walking and on their phone at the same time, and it's like if somebody stood out in front of them, they'd probably run into them. But that's what people do now. It's like the phone is their companion, their lifelong companion, and without it, Jesus, it's like a drug. It really is like a drug, And if you took it away from them, I was watching some stuff on YouTube. Crime videos, because cops wear body cams, right? And those body cams inevitably end up online. And so you get to watch some of these arrested or stuff. And one of the things that's been a common denominator in a lot of these issues when you're pulling over people and stuff, they're always concerned about their phone. Because, the cop takes it, and they get all pissed off and upset. I want my phone, I want my phone. And it's like, Jesus, you think the hell they were talking about their baby or something, They get so pissed off. And all I could think of is, what's on that phone that they don't want the cop to find out about? It's very, very strange, how people are just really connected to that thing, It's like one step away from being implanted in our minds, this damn phone, okay? And And one of these days, I fear that's probably what's going to be a thing, is that people are going to have a phone attached to them. I mean, I remember, what was it, that movie I was watching? Total Recall, not the original one with Arnold Schwarzenegger, but the remake. They had their cell phones were like inside their hand, so if they talked, they were, and if they wanted to see who they were talking to, they'd put their hand on a glass or something like that, transparent thing, and the image would show up there. And I'm thinking, you know what? We're like 1 or 2 steps away from that already. Because people are not going to be able to live without that thing, and it's got to be attached to them. Okay, that damn phone. I mean, how many times have people walked out of their house and forgot to bring their cell phone with them? Okay, and then they turn around, have to go back and get it because, they got to have it. I don't know. It's very, very strange how things have evolved in this world. Okay, well, anyway, I have this video here from Midas Touch, and it's I don't know how many of you out there listen to Joe Rogan's podcasts, but he's like the internet's version of a Rush Limbaugh. Maybe not as popular as Rush Limbaugh ever was, but this is who a lot of MAGA people have been running to these last, since during the election campaign, rather. People have been crowding around him. And it probably explains why so many young voters voted the way they did. But a lot of people who, because he has the show, but he has a comment page, okay? And a lot of MAGA people have been bitching on the comment page about things they're finding out about what Trump is going to do, okay? And, of course, the rest of us are like, why is that such a surprise to you? He told you many fucking times during the campaign what he was going to do. So this should not be of any surprise to any of you. But yet they're here. I mean, they're on the comment page and they're bitching and complaining about how tariffs are going up, the cost of things are going to go up, layoffs, name it. All these things are going to happen. And they thought that wasn't going to be the case. They thought, and again, I don't understand why they thought. Okay, if they went to all his rallies like they've been doing, either they were sleeping at the rallies, okay, or everything Trump said to them was word salad. Okay, maybe they just didn't get it. All right. Anyway, here's the video, and we'll talk about that on the other side. So let's go to the video here.
You know the expression, sometimes you F around and you find out. So now Joe Rogan podcast listeners are taking to the Joe Rogan message board on Reddit, and they're posting, wow, you mean Donald Trump really meant that he's imposing these tariffs, which are going to raise the prices on our goods and are going to lead to inflation? Really? That's what he's planning on doing? So here's what's going down right now on the Joe Rogan message board on Reddit. This is a post from someone named Hayden, and the subreddit title is called Education for the Nation. Hayden writes, "You've got to admit a majority of the country voting for a man because of the, quote, price of goods are too high, only for him to increase prices on his first day in office, has to be regarded as one of the greatest social experiments of all time." Now you go to the Rogan message board, and again, Joe Rogan hosted Donald Trump on the podcast, didn't ask him about any of these things for the 3 hours. It was basically just, Rogan promoting Donald Trump for all 3 hours. And for Rogan, who always talks about like Jeffrey Epstein and child sex trafficking stuff and all of that stuff, which appeals to his listeners, you're not going to ask Donald Trump about his friendship with Epstein. You're not going to confront Donald Trump with what a tariff actually is. You're not going to talk to Donald Trump about his views toward January 6th and insurrection. You're not going to cover that, but okay, what do I know? Here's what's on the subreddit message board. Even the Soviets weren't this brainwashed, one listener writes. Bro, I didn't know what his actual argument was going to be, so he's raising prices to stop the drugs and illegals? And then someone goes, yeah, the awful amounts of drugs and immigration from Canada, right? Donald Trump said his plan is that he's going to impose blanket 25% tariffs on Canada, as well as Mexico, and additional 10% tariffs on goods from China, which in reality is just a tax on American companies who import the stuff, which in turn is just passed on to the consumer in the form of prices being raised on consumer goods, essentially the level of the tariff plus an additional margin. Then someone, a Joe Rogan listener, goes, which makes no sense. Tariffs aren't going to stop the sale of illegal drugs. One of the things Donald Trump says is, look, we're doing this until Mexico stops selling fentanyl. By the way, about 90% of the fentanyl inside the United States comes from Americans. 99.9% of the fentanyl market in America is Americans. That's where the demand comes from. And the supply also comes from 88-90% Americans who are the ones bringing these in. So like, for example, J.D. Vance talking about his mother's opioid addiction. I think she got her drugs where she was working as a nurse. That's what got her addicted to these things. So anyway, other people on the Rogan message board are saying, how do tariffs stop drugs being smuggled across the border? Another Rogan listener says, that's the fun part. They don't. So the goods become more expensive than the drugs? Cocaine? No thanks. I'll take a banana. And then somebody goes, so the first day is going to involve mass deportations and tariffs. Curious how this will play out, to which someone responds, Joe, referring to Rogan, Joe will be fine, and cheaper taxes. Good luck for the rest of y'all. And then they give a kind of a fake quote from Joe Rogan where it goes, I just love all this freedom. That's a mega rich, paranoid podcaster, Joe Rogan speaking. Someone else writes, economic collapse, record unemployment, billionaires win, we lose again. One of the things that, I've been hearing a lot, and you may be hearing this too, is that really one of the things that liberals didn't have, the term liberals, leftists, whatever you want to say, that's what people frame. It's not how I frame the arguments. They go, they need their own Joe Rogan. Well, you can't just manufacture that. You have to be authentic with what your messaging is. And Rogan kind of peddles in a lot of these conspiracies. And what's important is that we still lead with our values. We make it, and you see from the people who are posting, who listen to Rogan, that if you can message to them exactly what they're talking about, Rogan kind of pushes them in this conspiracy theory direction, which, for some people, is a rabbit hole that they journey down. They think they're doing their research and they think they're onto these big revelations. But sometimes Occam's razor, the simplest explanation, is the truth, which is here we have billionaires who hang out at Mar-a-Lago, who are trying to further entrench their wealth, and they are using their billions of dollars to basically convince people to vote against their own interests. And by the time people realize they voted against their interest, it's too late. So it's our job to make sure it's not too late. This is what another Rogan listener says. They're turning the billionaires. And this is how you message it too. I want to share with you what people are saying, how they're talking about this now. They are turning the U.S. economy into a poop and scoop scheme. I wonder how long they'll be able to get away with that illegal immigration and drugs coming in distraction before the less savvy among us actually catch on. The dumbest thing is many people claim to vote for him because of inflation, but higher wealth concentration among the affluent drives up costs for everyone else, while rising costs makes it harder for lower income households to accumulate wealth, worsening inequality. This shit is playing out all over the world too. It's like global billionaires declared war on the lower class, and the lower classes said, okay, just as long as I get to hate on immigrants and trannies. Someone else goes, that's exactly what it is. Find a scapegoat, shift the blame. If it wasn't obvious after the cat and dog thing, then there's truly nothing you can do with some of these brainwashed people. Someone goes, and this is an interesting observation. Yeah, I'm starting to realize you can fool half the people all the time. The other half can be fooled some of the time, but that first half is conditioned to being fooled all the goddamn time. It subconsciously makes them angry too, which is then fed back into fooling them even more. To which someone responds, yeah, that cognitive dissonance leads to anger eventually. The mental gymnastics they do just to protect someone that gives zero shits about them is sad. Other people who listen to Rogan are saying, how do tariffs stop drugs being smuggled across the border? That's the fun part. They don't, responds another Rogan listener. So the goods become more expensive than the drugs. And by the way, I could go on reading more and more of this stuff. By the way, this comes at the same time as the leader of Mexico, their newly sworn in president, Claudia Sheinbaum, says that if Donald Trump imposes these 25% tariffs on Mexico, there will be retaliatory tariffs that Mexico imposes on the United States. That creates a trade war scenario, and nobody benefits from that at all. One of the things that Sheinbaum said as well, I'll do a whole nother video on this, is that actually border crossings right now are pretty low based on Biden's executive orders after Republicans refused to engage in negotiations on a bipartisan border deal, or they killed the border deal at Donald Trump's request. So because they wouldn't pass the laws, Biden implemented executive orders. Border crossings have been going down now for about the last 6 to 9 months. They're basically lower than they were when Trump was in office right now. So then MAGAs all use that to say, you see, Donald Trump did it. He did it. That's why border crossings are down right now. And it's just, they feed into that illogic. Now, I'll show you this too as well. This is Ukrainian boxing legend and brother of Kyiv's mayor, Klitschko, responding to Joe Rogan here, because one of the things that Rogan has been saying as well is he's been attacking Ukraine with Russian propaganda talking points and basically saying that Russia is justified for using intercontinental ballistic missiles on Ukraine. And when I watch Klitschko too, and it's probably one of the overall messages I want to convey in this video, is that a lot of what goes on in the right-wing ecosystem are men who bully and punch down and try to act like that's alpha. And that's just not how I was raised. And it's interesting that when you see someone like a Klitschko who's fighting for his country, who's like a real life Ukrainian version of like a G.I. Joe, and you take a Klitschko and you compare him to these like right-wing podcasters who pretend to be alpha and say all of these horrible things about women, I think it's important that we reflect on that and go, that's not alpha. And we have to address it, and we have to, I think, elevate authentic voices that already exist out there. We can't manufacture, we need to create this. No. We have to find authentic voices and uplift them. And we have to talk about one of the things that's actually happening, which is that there is a concerted effort by oligarchical billionaires to create this, or to foster these laboratories of oligarchy and autocracy and thrust that upon us. We got to push back. Here's Klitschko. Let's play it.
Joe Rogan, I listened to your latest podcast. I'm sending you this video to let you know that I disagree. You talk about these American weapons being sent to Ukraine, which you believe will lead to the Third World War. So, let me tell you that you're repeating Russian propaganda. Putin's Russia is in trouble, so they want to scare you and people like you. His war was supposed to last 3 days. It has lasted 3 years, thanks to the heroism and sacrifice of us Ukrainians. So you're using the only weapon that Putin really intends to use, propaganda. And this weapon really weakens our democracies. Putin's Russia wants to destroy Ukraine quietly. They want America to stay quiet, not great, but quiet. A great America is not an America that abandons countries that defend freedom with their lives. In short, you see, I have quite a few points of difference. If you invite me on your podcast, we could discuss them like free men.
There you have it, folks. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Hit subscribe, and let's get to 4 million subscribers together.
All right. So as you can see, a lot of people, you know, are just really kind of upset and shocked and worried and stressed right now because they thought that this wasn't going to be this way. But Trump never lied about what kind of a person he was. He gave you, you know, probably, I have to say that in all the campaigns that I have ever seen in my lifetime as people ran for president, Trump was the most honest, I think, in his campaign about exposing who he is, okay? And people voted for the man as he is. I mean, he didn't hide he's a criminal. He didn't say anything about that, okay? He just, you know, and he said some pretty nasty, disgusting things. I mean, he was completely comfortable up on that stage and all these rallies, running his mouth and saying all these things, and he didn't care, you know, what people thought of him, and he still don't, okay? But but people who went to these rallies, they said that's what they liked about the man, was that he doesn't, you know, he says things off the cuff. They like that, okay? Well, you know, so he says things off the cuff that are racist, and that means that's good. Okay, he says things off the cuff about rounding people up and putting them in camps, and you think that's good because, oh, he just comes out and says it. It's like, okay, I mean, you approve of the action, but you're not really, I mean, do you approve of what he's saying? Okay, so you like that he tells you flat out what he's going to do, all right, but you don't seem to care about what he says he's going to do. You just want a guy that just tell you, you know, oh, the sun's out today, and when the sun's out, you know, and it's, you know, you just want people to just say what's true, and when they do, and you hear the truth, and then you say, oh, well, he doesn't mean it or something, it's like, well, what the hell do you guys want? You know? You can't say he doesn't mean it and then say you like it, that he comes off and tells you honestly what he's saying. You can't say he's being honest and then say, oh, he's just pulling our leg at the same time, and then say, oh, and then when things actually happen, you say, well, I didn't think that was going to happen to me. You know, these people, they live in a conflict of their own construct, okay? And people like Joe Rogan help to build that for them, okay? They go to this clown online, okay, and if you think he's going to talk to this Ukrainian soldier, by the way, forget it, okay? He's like a lot of Republican, especially the MAGA. They're afraid of a debate. They're afraid of it. Rush Limbaugh was afraid of it, okay? He never discussed or debated anybody on his fucking radio show in all the years that he was on the air. He just wouldn't do it, and you know why he wouldn't do it, because his arguments wouldn't hold water. And he wouldn't want to be embarrassed in front of everybody that listened to him. That's why, in a way, that's why he always stayed, you know, relatively popular, is because he could never let anyone challenge him on his knowledge of things, okay? He was a phony right from the get-go. The stuff he was saying was all lies. Same thing with Joe Rogan here, okay? He's not going to take that opportunity to talk to this guy as a free man, because Joe Rogan isn't really free. He is a prisoner in his own mind of trying to be a right-wing lap kisser, okay? A ring kisser, rather. That's what he is. He's a ring kisser, and he can't afford to look bad, all right, in front of all of his fans. Because, you know, when you're making comments about things that are happening outside your domain, okay, you really don't know what's going on, what's true and not true, okay? You're taking the side of Russia, and you don't even know what's happening over there, okay? Even the people living in Russia don't really know fully what's happening over there, because information coming out of Russia is very small, and a lot of it is tainted, what propaganda, okay? And, you know, he's not letting people in there in that country, all right? So a lot of the reports that come from Russia are second, third hand from other people, but nobody's actually on the ground. So how can anyone honestly make a fucking opinion about the war in Ukraine and be on Russia's side if Russia's holding all the cards close to their vest? They're not going to tell you a fucking thing, all right? So, like I said, you know, he's not going to debate this guy because he's going to be completely unarmed here to get into a discussion with this guy in Ukraine, because this is a guy who is on the ground. He ain't got anything to hide, and he's got no reason to lie about anything, okay? That's what Joe Rogan would be afraid of, is talking to a guy like that, because he would lose the discussion in, you know, less than 5 minutes. And, you know, I feel like too many people these days spend a lot of time listening to the wrong things online, okay? And, you know, who's Joe Rogan to anybody else you see on the street, okay? He's got a webpage, big fucking deal. Who cares? You know, he's got money to make a podcast or something. Who cares? Does that mean everything coming out of his mouth is credible? Of course not. I don't even tell people everything coming out of my mouth is credible. Everything that I tell you is either stuff I'm reading online or my own personal opinions, okay? I don't tell people for what a guarantee, you know, that, you know, things are going to be like this or that's happening over here or this. Well, how could I honestly say, I mean, am I traveling the world? Did I go set foot in Ukraine and go over there and see what's going on? Of course not. I'm getting this stuff at places where I read, okay? So you can't accuse me of, you know, propaganda or something like that. If I'm telling you stuff and you think it's propaganda, then go to the place that I got the information from and tell them that, okay? Tell them that. Don't come after me with your fucking red-face hysteria, MAGA looniness, and, you know, and say, oh, you're just an idiot, demagogue, or whatever the fuck, you know, you want to call me, okay? It ain't gonna work. I'm completely protected from all of that. All right. So anyway, let's go to a commercial break here, and then we'll return.
This is me.
This is me.
This is me!
This is me.
I'm Alex Curtis. I'm a lobsterman in Maine, and this is me.
I'm Ruth McLaughlin, and this is me.
I'm Eric Hopkins. I'm an artist, and this is me.
This
is me.
Me.
This is me.
This is me.
This is me.
At the end of the journey, the main thing is you, original.
entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it.
It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. All right, so I have another video here, sort of Thanksgiving-ish. It's people who are going online and belly aching that they've got no place to go for Thanksgiving, and you can imagine who these people are. I'm sorry, I can't feel any sympathy for these goddamn people. You realize how much hate mail I get from MAGA nuts, okay? And they want me to feel bad for them because they got cut off from their families, their husbands, their wives, their children, okay, because they voted for somebody that stands for nothing. Just stands for the most evil shit you could imagine in life, okay? But they want to be taken as, oh, I'm being political. You know, I just voted. It didn't mean nothing. Well, you see, that's probably why you voted the way you did, because it meant nothing to you. And let me tell you something. A lot of these people, okay, and I'm not going to say all of these MAGA people, but a lot of these people, they're young, okay, and since young people today are having a hard time, getting an apartment, a car, getting out on their own, and they're still living at home as they go to college, they're kind of sheltered in a way from the realities of living in this country, because their parents are feeding them. They got them in their bedrooms. They got rooms for them, okay? And, they might have a job, and that money mostly, unless they're paying their parents some sort of a rent, that's just for themselves and their own personal enjoyment, right? Which a lot of us don't have, a lot of whole money to spare for that sort of thing. But these people living at home with their parents, okay, their stress level is less because they don't have to worry about the mortgage payment on the house. They don't have to worry about insurance. They don't have to worry about medical expense. A lot of them are covered on their parents' medical plan, because I think, isn't there like to a certain age or something, and then they got to drop you. But anyway, a lot of these young people, they're being sheltered by their families. And these are the same people who get online, watch Joe Rogan, and turn around and vote MAGA, vote for Trump, okay? Now, why would these people care about the issues that the people like their parents have to face when their parents went out and voted for Kamala Harris, but they turn around and voted for Trump? Well, obviously, it's because they don't see that reality. They're living in their own little bubble online, getting fed all kinds of propaganda from some bad places. Now, these people now, a lot of them, well, not a lot of them, I don't even know how many, but there's a good number of young MAGA people who were kicked out by their parents and said, go live on your own now. And it's not because of anger or hatred of their kids. It's because the parents see that living at home hasn't done them any favors. Even though it's helped them to get through college, they're not really learning anything, especially the real world. Because they turn around and they vote for Trump at a time when everyone is trying very hard to make it, economically speaking here, all right, under inflation and all that. But these kids, they never really have to experience that, okay? And it's like, okay, well now, in order to cure this problem of our young people voting for MAGA or for Trump, they need to get out there and actually live in the world that MAGA is creating, okay, that Trump will create in the next 4 years. They need to experience that. So that way, when it comes time to run for the next presidential election, okay, they'll understand why their parents got pissed at them, okay? Then they'll have that come to Jesus moment where, you know, they'll actually thank their parents for having done what they did, because living at home was too protect. It was too much sheltering. That, you know, they didn't get to experience life. All right, as it is for the rest of us who, you know, we don't have any choice. We don't have parents to go live with anymore. Okay, we're on our own. Okay, and when you're always riding a bike with training wheels on it, you never have to worry about falling off your bike, do you? The rest of us, we don't have training wheels anymore, so we have to worry, you know, and that's what they're doing. They're taking the training wheels off these kids' bikes and saying, go out on your own now, you know, and find out. Because, hey, that's the best way to learn, you know. It's sad that, you know, that it has to happen this way, but this is the fault of, I think, a lot of parents who just overprotect their kids to a point where it's to a fault, and they forget. I mean, because every parent is always afraid their kid's going to fail in life, but we don't want the kids to end up like this, like MAGA. You know, we don't want our kids to, you know, devalue other people and listen to horse shit from an asshole on the internet. Okay, we don't want our kids to end up like that. So I think the parents were taught a lesson in a lot of ways, that your kids need to get out. They need to leave the nest. I understand it's struggling out there, but they need to find a way to make it on their own. They got to. Okay, they have to. I mean, how are they supposed to evolve into an adult if they're always going to be living like they're still teenagers at home? Okay, so I think that it's really important, you know, that the adults understand that. So let's go to this video here, and let's take a look at some of these people that are having trouble here now.
MAGA family, I still haven't found anywhere to go for Thanksgiving. I reached out to some people that commented on my post.
Well, I don't know what to tell you, but we're gonna find out.
Welcome to another episode of FAFO, also known as I Didn't Think My Vote Would Directly Affect Me, where Trump supporters are faced with the consequences of their own actions. Now, these MAGA grandparents were cut off by their children over a month ago for how they voted. So they decided to show up unannounced and uninvited, demanding to see their grandchildren. But it looks like it's not working out so well. Well, maybe they could team up with this gentleman, who was also uninvited from all of his family holidays for supporting Trump, and make their own new family traditions. And up next, we have the story of a person who could be considered the human embodiment of F around and find out.
One of my ex-coworkers voted for Trump, and she said she cannot wait for this whole abortion thing to go into plan. It's time for him to weed out the weak, and if he can't handle having a kid, then don't sleep with anybody. She is now pregnant by a black man, and her family has removed her from the will. And they have been arguing on Facebook for the past 3 days. And the husband's trying to take the kids. Things are looking up.
Yes, they're definitely looking something. Why is it that too often the people with the loudest opinions tend to be the biggest hypocrites of all? In this next segment of extremely obvious things we should have discussed before the election, this person asks, did I betray my immigrant parents voting for Trump? I think we all know the answer to that. But anyways, they say, I am a first-generation American whose parents were once illegal immigrants. They've long since obtained citizenship. I voted for Trump in a non-swing Democratic state, so my vote was solely to express my belief, which was that Donald Trump would be a strong leader in a seemingly increasingly divisive and hostile world, alongside the idea that he would be proactive in comparison to Kamala, who unfortunately has a rep for not taking much action alongside the Biden administration. Apart from this, I also believe she wasn't ready for the role given what I've seen from interviews, and she was just thrust into a campaign 90 days prior to the elections. Unfortunately, this vote can be seen as choosing a better evil, knowing very well of Trump's character, but regardless deciding he would be the best choice as president. Political views aside, as I know, there are many angles to further debate and evaluate this. Was a vote for Trump a betrayal to my family? I've recently read an article about how doing so under my circumstances would be considered as so, and I'm feeling heavily guilty. Regardless, I want to know the consensus. And I think everyone can agree that no Sherlock. Oh, and now we're reading articles after the fact. It's hilarious that he would think that a felon, a rapist, and a crook would be a better representation for the American people than, say, a lifelong public servant whose intelligence led her to one of the highest and most difficult roles to get in the entire country. Just say that you don't like women, bro. Just say it, because I'm tired of all these people feigning ignorance when they knew exactly what they were doing. Isn't it so interesting how all of these people with the intent to harm others end up doing harm to themselves? Apparently, people are breaking down on TikTok because they just realized Obamacare is the Affordable Care Act. The heartbreaking part, so many have pre-existing conditions. One man admitted he voted for Trump without knowing it was Obamacare that allowed his mother with stage 4 cancer to get treatment. This is what happens when misinformation wins over facts.
Y'all telling me y'all was using Obamacare as an insult and didn't know you was on that shit? What they be saying? That's rich.
Over on Truth Social, the conservative social media app, users are also making some huge discoveries. Real MAGA Patriot says, wait, China doesn't pay the tariffs? Just phenomenal.
Remember a few weeks ago, I told you about how I have a student who after the debate was telling me he's very like, Trump, yeah. Well, that kid is in fact over 18 years old and a legal citizen and did in fact vote and has self-reported that he voted for Trump. After the election, he didn't come to school for several days and was really quiet, really withdrawn. Finally, the kid starts opening up. I'm like, what's going on? Where have you been, friend? Like, what's up? He's really sad, very quiet. He's like, Trump wants to deport everyone who's illegal. I was like, yeah, that's like literally his thing. He's like, my parents are illegal. I'm like, yeah, I knew that. Did you not know that? He's like, my parents are scared. I'm like, no shit. He's like, well, my girlfriend's also illegal. I'm like, did you not know that too? How do I know these things about your family, but you don't know these own things about your family? First of all, yeah, so his girlfriend and her parents and his parents have all gone into hiding because they're terrified that they're going to get deported. And this kid is now with basically without like a mom who could really be there. Dad has already left the country, and girlfriend is like traumatized, and he's just baffled by all of this. He's just baffled by all this. Can you believe all this? Baffled, bro.
I've got nothing. I've got no jokes for this. I am deeply concerned about the lack of critical thinking in the newest generations of these young men. Remember when Trump said they're eating the cats and eating the dogs? Well, like the last kid's dad, the Haitian migrants Trump was talking about said, you don't have to tell me twice, and have expeditiously been getting the out of Springfield, Ohio in droves, which is great for them, but detrimental to the town and local economy as well as other states. According to an article in The Guardian, Haitian immigrants filled thousands of jobs at the area packaging and auto plants, which has completely rejuvenated the local area, including a plethora of Haitian restaurants that source foods from other states. A tax expert who serves the Haitian community in the area said, I pay thousands of dollars in income and property taxes every year, and because I work with Haitians, I see their W-2s and so on. If these people leave, that money is gone from the city and the local economy. That's because the jobs the Haitian community were doing are gruesome jobs that many Americans don't want to work. But Haitians are hard workers. They were willing to get up every day and do the work. But ever since Trump and J.D. Couch started that cats and dogs nonsense, Haitians have split and left the locals without anyone to do those thousands of jobs, wreaking havoc on their fragile economy. Well, thoughts and tariffs, I guess. Shot my line below. On the Reddit thread, Boomers Being Fools, this poster says, my boomer grandparents don't believe that Trump appointed Dr. Oz. Literally just went around and around with my boomer grandparents on this. I mentioned casually that Trump appointed Dr. Oz, and they started freaking out about how that couldn't possibly be true, and it's got to be fake news. I couldn't get it through their heads that it's just a fact and not fake news. These are the same people that believe anything negative that Trump says must be AI or fake news. But they believe everything they hear about Kamala, whose name my grandparents refuse to even pronounce right. I showed them all there was about it, and they think that all the news outlets are putting it out as fake news. Oh yeah, and these are the same boomers that voted for Trump knowing he might deport my immigrant dad. Are they all this stupid? Sorry for the rant, but it's just enormously frustrating, especially since I live with them and they pay my college tuition. Sorry, bruv. I mean, there is a chance that they could also just be bigots.
I have been laughing for like 15 minutes.
Yeah, we are so...
Good family friend, works as a teacher in a local school district, and as a special education teacher, diehard Trump fan, voted for Trump, was beating her chest all about it. Mid-30s, she actually just got this job a couple of years ago and was very excited about the opportunity. But what she didn't realize for some reason, and just recently found out yesterday, in fact, was that her position is 100% funded by a federal grant from the OSEP program. Yeah, OSEP is Office of Special Education. It's a division of the U.S. Department of Education, and they provide federal funding in the form of grants to assist in local communities, ensuring that they have proper coverage, if you will, and funding for special education needs. This lady's job is 100% funded by that office. So the find out hasn't been 100% realized, but this lady is scared because now all of a sudden she does care about the Department of Education and she does appreciate it. She flat out said that she didn't know that. And if she had, maybe she might not have voted for Trump. The reason she says that is because she knows and believes that Trump is, in fact, going after the Department of Education. She didn't think it affected her, so she didn't give a fuck. She gives a fuck now. So I don't want to laugh at the lady. It sucks. But at the same time, MAGA.
Now, you know how you can tell that a Trump supporter chose him because of his sexism and his bigotry? Well, this lady is a really good example of that because they were issues that directly affected her and she had no idea about them. But now she's shocked and looking into it more. Everybody can't be saved, folks. In other news, California Governor Gavin Newsom, who some Californians refer to as Daddy Gavi, is strategically using Donald Trump's own policies to punish Elon Musk. Donald Trump has recently proposed that he will be rolling back the $7,500 tax incentive on electric vehicles to please his big oil donors. So in response to Trump, Daddy Gavi has stated he will be reboosting the tax incentive on all electric vehicles, except for Tesla. This means that if someone in California wants to purchase an electric vehicle, they will receive the $7,500 tax credit unless they purchase a Tesla, which likely means they will see a decline in sales of Teslas in California. The only thing these people care about is money, and Daddy Gavi is hitting them where it hurts the most. It's a proud day to be a Californian. On Reddit, this user says, "Am I the a-hole for calling off my engagement after my partner revealed he is MAGA? My fiance and I have been together since 2013 when we met in college. He struggled to get a well-paying job, and during his long bouts of unemployment must have been radicalized to blame everyone else. I chalked it up to depression and tried to get him help and therapy. I paid for him to return to school and to become a nurse too, but he has still not completed the prereqs after 7 years. He currently works gig jobs while I am a nurse in California, making close to $400K a year and a part-time job. I was hoping to save up enough to not have to work after having a baby since I cannot rely on him. We were planning to get married next year and wanted to try for a baby. He knows I'm very liberal and all about women's rights. He never openly expressed his support for MAGA itself until after Trump won and said Trump will help the economy and finally allow him to get a good job. I told him that it was the easiest time to get a job in the past 20 years in 2021, yet he couldn't. I'm not giving into the sunken cost fallacy and staying in this relationship. He has made offhand comments before about women losing their worth as they get older, and when I questioned him about it, he said it was a joke. The past week has been miserable listening to him talk nonstop about how great Trump is and how he will turn everything great again. I had it and gave him notice to leave by the end of the month, and we are through. He said it's unfair and told me it's stupid to give up on us over just politics. The very fact he said that solidified the notion that he is so clueless and our values are too different. He will likely have to move back into his parents' home or be homeless since he makes less than $35K a year in the most expensive region in the USA. Am I the a-hole for throwing away my relationship of 11 years over politics? I wish politics were boring again. Don't we all wish politics were boring again? I never thought I'd miss the John McCain days. I mean, despite the whole MAGA thing, this woman needed to get rid of that bum. Has been making a livable wage since they've been together. And she's making almost $500,000 a year and basically fully supporting his life on her own. I can't believe it even got as far as them being engaged, frankly. But I'm so glad that he showed his ass and that this woman was finally able to get some backbone and see him properly after the election. Thanks in part due to the election. And if there's a silver lining in any of this, it's that a lot of people have shown themselves for who they are, and it's our responsibility to believe them.
I'm going to say the uncomfortable part out loud. The Germans who supported Hitler in the beginning are these same Germans who turned in their neighbors. It is a matter of safety that you cut these people out of your life. It's not just morals. Speaking as someone who has loudly dissented all over the internet for the last 8 years, I'm not wasting a fucking calorie questioning whether or not you're going to turn me or my friends in. You're out.
So there is one last update. She says last night he threatened to take his own life when the gravity of the situation hit him. His mother is babysitting him at her house to avoid a 5150 while I work. His father is packing up his belongings and will move them out of my house by the end of the week. It is over. I am letting him be MAGA. I cannot support someone who supports a rapist, pedophile, felon, etc., and who wants to take away my rights. He knows I'm a sexual assault victim. Majority of our friends are cutting ties with him after they learned of the reason for the breakup. Luckily, his parents are extremely left, even by my standards, so he may get a better balance on news instead of just the conservative forums he frequents. People grow up and grow apart. One can break up for any reason or no reason at all. I simply asked if I was the a-hole to do it, not if it was right or wrong. Men are justified for breaking up with women if she gets fat, but if the woman breaks up over moral differences, it's wrong? These double standards are hilarious. But yeah, of course he cued the dramatics when he realized that his meal ticket was out the window. This relationship probably should not have lasted once they graduated from college, but at least she's finally free. Onwards and upwards. And hopefully to someone with full-time employment. My Concepts of Condolences shop is linked below. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment, and make sure to click the little bell so you can be notified whenever I post a new video.
Yeah, it's pretty, how can you say it? Distressing, I suppose. But, you know, like I said, it isn't just that kids voted for Trump. I mean, there were adults older than I am who voted for Trump. And it's just that those are like your old Republican people who voted Republican their whole fucking life, okay? And they're like, they can't ever mark a D for, you know, mark a mark next on the ballot for a D. They can't do it. They can't fucking do it. It doesn't matter who the R is, okay? They're that loyal. I mean, that's cultish mentality right there. So you see, even then, even people in their 70s and older, or, you know, whatever, that are voting that way, the cultish mentality was already being developed even in their time, okay? That they have to be completely loyal. And that comes from the religious side of the Republican Party, you know, the evangelical types that were in the GOP, okay? And they made it so like, well, if you vote for, you know, anybody other than Republican, you're voting against God, okay? They kept elevating or mixing their religion with the politics, which is what created this cult mindset eventually over the years, which is why we have MAGA now, okay? These are the extreme people in that party who have grown up or raised by family members who were like that, you know, voting for a Democrat is voting for the devil, okay? Even though there's plenty of devilness to go around in their own party, they simply ignore it. It's like when a priest is caught fiddling around with some little boy, everybody in the church who knows about it ain't going to say a fucking word about it. Same kind of, you know, denial and cultish thinking there, okay? It's the same crap that goes on in Scientology, okay? The same shit that went on with the David Koresh clan there, or whatever. They knew he was doing shit. Nobody'd say anything about it, okay? That's what happens when you mix your religion and your politics together, okay? That's why I say those are the two things you never want to talk about at a fucking at a meal at the table, because it's going to lead into a fight. Because no two people, no matter if you're in the same religion, will ever agree 100% on everything, okay? You're always going to have differences. So why even bother talking about it? If it's going to lead to a fight, talk about something else, okay? Do you realize if people sat at the table and talked about pornography, there'd be less fighting, an argument, than there would if they brought up the topic about, you know, who voted for who? Jesus Christ, you know? I tell, you know, if I ever, you know, if I told my father that I had voted for Reagan, if I was old enough to do that, then, you know, he'd have disowned me. He didn't like Reagan, okay? But, you know, if I'd have told him, hey, Dad, I was watching porn all night last night, he'd probably just chuckle and say, well, at least, you know, I ain't going to say what he's going to say, you know. But, you know, like I said, you'd get more argument, you get less argument with talking about dirt like that than you would be about politics and religion. Goes to show you how our fucking It's just crazy how people are. You know, and just to add here a little bit more to the silliness of it all, okay, I remember having this long discussion on Reddit, okay, thread went way down, about, you know, how things could lead to a civil war in this country if Trump just keeps, you know, doing what he wants to do, like, you know, and getting people angrier and angrier and angrier. Well, you know, obviously it's going to create a lot of animosity and a lot of talk and a lot of, you know, lots of anger. And, you know, if people are at this point where they can actually cut themselves off from family members the way they do, okay, imagine the anger level in this country being worse than it is right now. And it ends up into a civil war. If you don't think that a family member wouldn't shoot another family member, okay, I wouldn't be so sure of that. Okay, we can't really be sure of that. I mean, we have people who have killed wives and children and stuff like that for ridiculous reasons already in the past, okay? And for some of us, and I always say, everybody has that line, okay? We don't know where it is, but somebody can be pushed over that line and kill somebody. What if the line isn't, you know, so far away for some? What if it's, you know, closer? What if the line is something political? You know, I dare say that, you know, it's not an impossibility for family members to go like that in a civil war. Okay, I'm sure it must have happened during the Civil War, way back. But when people feel like they're being patriotic and they want to prove to others around them that they are, they'll sell out their own soul. They'll do whatever they have to. Okay, MAGA is certainly of that caliber. People, they look what they've done. They've sold themselves up the river without a paddle. Okay, a lot of these people in MAGA that voted for Trump were voting against their own self-interest. They cut their own throat. A lot of these people are immigrants. They thought voting for Trump was the smart thing. Well, now they're finding out they could be some of those people that are going to get deported. A lot of them are worried. Okay? But it's all because they felt that they needed to be loyal, that they needed to show that I'm a patriot. You know, I can't see how Trump made anybody feel like they are patriotic. I really don't. Kamala made me feel more patriotic than he ever could. Okay? I got more that she gave a shit about me and people that I knew. As for Trump making fun of the people that I knew, you know, I guess, you know, if you don't have any friends that are gay or that are black or Latino or whatever, you know, the people he was attacking, if you don't have any friends of that, I suppose you wouldn't really get it. You really wouldn't get it. But when you do have friends that are diverse, you know, in your life, and you hear some jackass on the television, you know, poking fun at them and saying how hard he wants to come down on them if he's president, you know, all of that's very offensive. All of it. Okay? It's all offensive. It's disgusting is what it is. All right? And it ain't funny. I don't care what anybody says from the Trump support. He was joking. No, if he was joking, there'd have been laughter. There was no one ever laughing at any of his rallies at shit he was saying. What they were doing was they were applauding everything he was saying. That tells me these people are just as nutty as he is. All right? So, like I said, it's just, would you have somebody talking like that about people that you might be friends with, you know, how can you turn your back on them? How can you vote for that guy? And that's why a lot of these people, you know, are finding themselves without some friends, lost family, lost their husbands or wives, you know, divorce papers, all this shit. Their lives, you know, for some of these people have been changed drastically because they've been revealed to other people just what kind of person they are underneath. That this facade that they've been carrying around their whole life, okay, and not saying much about, has been exposed. They've taken their masks off, okay? And now people see them for what they are, and they're ugly. These people are ugly. And they don't want to be around them, okay? Yeah, it's hurtful for them, okay? But look, you know, elections have consequences. You know, they really do. And when you, and that's why a lot of times people should never say who they voted for in an election or something, but these people were so proud of voting for Trump, they didn't want to not say it. But they found out that, hey, you know, you people were so divisive as he ran, you know, for this term. And you said some pretty nasty things in anonymity online, okay? Nobody knew who you were, but you were online saying a lot of fucking nasty shit. All right? Callous to the core. You didn't care, you were indifferent, okay? And then when you weren't online, you put on your mask and you're like, oh, I'm a nice person. I love everybody, okay? And then one day after the election, somebody asks you, well, who did you vote for? And you say, Donald Trump. They're like, what? Who the hell are you? Are you a fucking nut? Jesus Christ. You know, that's what these people don't get, is that, you know, you can pretend online that you're this person, okay? Or you could, you know, you could take your cloak off, if you will, and get online and be as miserable as you really are. But, you know, to put that cloak on and go out in public and try to pretend, you know, if you're really a nasty person, it's going to be hard to keep that image up, okay? It really is. Some truth is going to come out of your mouth eventually. But when you told somebody you voted for Trump, you might as well have just, you know, put a white robe on, you know, a white sheet on with 2 holes in it, or, okay? I mean, that's like standing in front of your friends naked. Now they see what you are. All right, and it's going to be a hard, long time for you to get back into where you were. But you scuttled yourself when you admitted who you voted for. Why did you tell them that? You knew how controversial Trump was. Okay, let me give you an instance here. Let me tell you here just how many people in this country voted, okay, for Donald Trump. First of all, there's over 320 something million people who live in the United States, okay? And as of right now, the numbers that they've gotten in, 140 million people voted out of that 326 or whatever million people there are. Just 140 million, okay? Now, out of that number of 140 million, Trump got 50% of that 140 million. So that means only 70 million people voted. Therefore, 70 million isn't even half of 326.7 million people that resided in the U.S. That's 47% of the population. Okay? And half of 140, it's not even, I mean, people are saying, oh, half the country voted for Trump. No, less than half the country, way less than half. Only half of 140 million people who voted for Trump. So what is that to? It's like what, a third? A third of the United States voted for Trump. That doesn't mean he was, the guy for the party. I mean, for the presidency. I mean, if the other part of this country, the other 300 million voted, okay, the result could have been very different if the rest of the country gave a shit to vote. But we always end up with people that never vote. And yet these are the ones that bitch and complain, all right? And they get online and they say some nasty things or they start fights, but yet they won't vote, okay? These people, you know, they're useless to me, all right? But the thing is that when you look at the numbers, when you break down how many people voted in this country, okay, just start with that number. 140 million people voted in this last election here 3 weeks ago, okay? You know, 140 million, that's less than the fucking, way less than the total number of people living in this country. And half of them out of that number voted for Trump. Okay? Just half. All right, so that's really not a very, good thing to say that, oh, he won by a landslide. No. He didn't win by no fucking landslide, okay? He won a decisive election. Yes, he got the most, okay? But the margin of popularity votes between him and Kamala was very narrow, okay? So he didn't win by a fucking landslide. He won the election, but he didn't win by a landslide. And these people here, trying to build it up like he won some big fucking election is ridiculous. So people who are, going around thinking that, oh, voting for Trump was the good thing, the smart thing, maybe in your little world it was. But if you talk to the rest of America, and I'm talking about those, and even those who didn't vote, they're not going to be very happy with Trump in the coming years, okay? You're going to be sadly overwhelmed with people who are going to eventually, some of them probably for the first time in a long time, actually get out and vote, especially towards the midterms, okay? And if the midterms go in the Democrats' fashion in a big wave, big blue wave, Trump's going to be depulucked. His feathers are going to be plucked. All right, he ain't going to have shit for nothing. I mean, everything he does is going to have to be underhandedly. All right, but there will be accountability back in the Senate and Congress, and he's going to have to tread lightly, unless he wants to spend the rest of his 2 years as president, fighting legal battles and impeachment and every damn thing else the Democrats will have to be able to go after him with. Okay, so like I said, he's going to be starting his presidency on a sour note already, because he's already turned his back on most of the people that voted for him, and he's really made a lot of enemies already, and he's got people from other countries getting pissed at him right now. So when he takes the oath, he's already going to be in a low approval number, and it's only going to sink more as time goes on. All right, so these people here that were proud to vote for him, and now they find themselves out at Thanksgiving, you people are going to be very uncomfortable for the next 4 years at least, as your family continues to shut themselves off from you. You're going to have to do some major ass kissing to get back into their good graces, and you're going to have to prove to them that you learned something about your mistake and you won't do it again. All right, and I think it's important from you learn this in a big way, that you don't go around bragging to people about voting for a son of a bitch like Trump, who is basically Hitler in orange clothes, whatever you want to call him, okay? He's a nasty bastard is what he is, okay? And anybody who's ever done business with him will tell you the same fucking thing. He's nobody you want to deal with. Nobody. I don't know what else more to say about it, but if you haven't figured that out by now, you soon will eventually. And I pity all the people who are out there feeling like they've been vindicated in some way, that they voted for Trump. But you know what? Your vindication isn't going to last, because you're going to be probably one of the first heads on the chopping block, as Trump runs roughshod over the United States and the rest of the world. So good luck to you with that. All right, so everybody, please try to enjoy your Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody, my friends out there. Subscribe, comment, and share, and keep your ears open for health issues here. And treat each other well, and try to enjoy the turkey. And don't get too political about things right now. Try to talk about other stuff. Okay, funny things. Watch funny movies or something like that. Everybody's laughing. Let me, make it funny. So that way people will at least try to have good memories in a bad time. All right, that's what we need, because we're going to need those memories as we push forward in the days to come. So take care, everybody. Again, happy Thanksgiving.